Good morning, everybody. I know I'm a little, um, I look discombobulated right now. I kind of am, but I'm gonna still go ahead and deliver this message to you because there is a lot to be said about the topic that I want to share with you today. Um, so I'm just gonna jump right into this. My name is Reese Roberts. Um, This podcast is called Entertain the Thought. It is broadcasting live through Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, but it can also be found on my website, which is www.reeseroberts.com, and that's also Reese Roberts or Entertain the Thought on Soundcloud. So, not too long ago, there was a lot of discussion about abortion in the Black community. And I made the assertion based on my theories of evolution, based on my observation of evolution. I made the assertion that the epidemic of abortion in the Black community is rooted in the over sexualization of the Black woman on behalf of the Black man. And that caused a lot of uproar. It caused a lot of pushback in the opinions of men who felt like women share the blame in that. I do not agree at all that women share a hand in their over sexualization, but I do think that women have a part to play in it, of course, because just like any other happening in your life, you are responsible for what you allow to occur. I'm glad you saw that Queen Elizabeth thing. Did you see the video of it though? That's what I want to know. I want to see the video of her shapeshifting. But anyway, that's off topic. We're gonna go back to that in another time. Um, I want to talk about specifically, like I said, the fact that certain things in society, especially when you think about and you conceptualize what social conditioning is, essentially, social conditioning is a seed that's being planted into fertile ground um, for the purpose of allowing an altered state of evolution, to allow an altering of what reality truly is to happen in a person's mind, though, not necessarily in society or in truth, but in a person's mind. The social conditioning is there for the purpose of creating an alternate reality that is further from the truth than what we are able to function healthily or in a healthy way. So let's just talk about this. Okay, I posted two videos on my page. Two videos. One, they were both some young men. Both of them were talking about. One was talking about how women will put in their bio, "No dick pics," and the dude was like, "Clearly, if you have to say that, then that means you're posting something that would entice a man or encourage him to send you a dick pic." Now that completely agree with. I completely agree with that. And this is where I think the responsibility of a woman comes into play. Um, but I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself because, like I said, I want to talk about the seed that's being planted in society and how that causes our evolutionary paths to take place and the way that they take place. So if you go back on your timeline of, the evolution of the Black community, not just America or this society in this westernized culture, but if you think about the way we have evolved as a people, you can pinpoint specifically where the over sexualization started to happen. And it began to happen in tandem with our music culture. So as we evolved musically and we were allowed to become more free, we were allowed to become more liberal, we had less censorship with our music and our media outlets, then our behavior as a society and as a culture, as a group of people, a nation of people, Black people, and we are pretty much the standard of evolution when it comes to music and certain types of culture, because we create those things largely more so than any other culture. So we have to take the responsibility for the fact that our music and the expression of it was precisely what caused our women to have this projection. Now, please hear me when I say this. I recognize the fact that social conditioning affects both men and women. And the point that I will make when I say this is that men and women have a responsibility to reject whatever social conditioning does not serve them. And because of social conditioning itself, it's very difficult to resist it, because as you're being conditioned, your mind is not fully aware of what true reality is. So let me go back to the topic at hand. Our music began to degrade. It began to become sexual. It began to expose. It began to accept and sort of dismiss certain things. Like, I know you guys can remember such a time not too long ago where you couldn't even curse on the radio. It would get bleeped out. Nowadays, there are only a few words that get bleeped out on the radio, because it's an evolution that has begun to happen, or that has happened in our culture, where things become more and more relaxed as we go on, because we become desensitized to whatever has been allowed in the past. So, okay, if it's not so bad for you to say damn on the radio like it used to be, then eventually it becomes not so bad for you to say shit on the radio. And then eventually you can say fuck and whatever else you want to say on the radio. It's an evolutionary path. And my assertion again is that our oppressors use the very same tactic that they do with any other social conditioning in the society to over-sexualize the woman. So with that in mind, I want to talk about how women have taken on this identity. Because I know, and this is my assertion again, that men have been the growers, the nurturers, and the consumers of the seed that has caused over-sexualization of their own women. I recognize that. But I'm going to say, I believe women have allowed this idea to flourish because of our own social conditioning. I want to say that this is very clever on behalf of our enemy, because our enemy wanted us to have this perfect concoction, this perfect formula for what will it take to deconstruct these homes? What will it take to break apart these relationships? What will be the perfect mix of dysfunction for us to decompose and destruct the Black family structure? And this is what I see happening. You take the man and you, of course, affect his mind in such a way that he is not a leader any longer. Now, if you go back in history, naturally, women used to be monarchs. We used to have matriarchal rulership in our empires. And so it's not uncommon in history, prehistoric history, for women and from melanated cultures to be rulers. But when I want to fast forward up to around the time, maybe the 1400 period, where we started to see slavery come into play, you have to see that our people had largely male leaders in our communities, and they were taken from those positions in order for them to be demasculinized. And so when you get to the point where the woman has now got to have her turn in this destruction process, the man has already been taken out of his leadership role. Now, what are we going to do to the woman? We're going to overly sexualize her and overwork her, because these are the things that she would normally be giving to her community in health. Women serve the community. We don't get overworked in our in our natural environment. We recognize that there's a village, and so we don't get overworked in our natural environment. But when you have the oppressor come in and say there is no longer a village, you guys hate each other. You don't have a man to rely on. And on top of that, that man is looking at you as if you have no value. And then you have, like I said, the woman has her turn. So now she begins to accept after her man. And this is the point that I'm making. The man initiated the acceptance of these ideas, initiated the acceptance and the dissemination of these theories into our communities, because these were our leaders at the time. The men were the leaders of the communities and the household. So once they have become removed from their positions, not only physically, but also mentally, again, the woman has to have her turn. So we get our ideas that we are no longer valuable. We no longer have a village to support us. We are individuals now, and we have to pretty much fend for ourselves. We have no man in our home to comfort or to provide or to sustain, maintain, subsist. We don't have any of that. What we have now is this idea that we are only to be of service, and that we are only here to work and to give and to continuously be consumed by our environment. And if you think about that, the Black woman has done nothing but give, 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 give continuously. Continuously. All we do is give. And now we're at a point where we have nothing left to give. Now, this is where it becomes very toxic, because women who have been degraded to the point where life has shown them that they have no value, they have begun to believe that. And the only value that society says, including our men started this first. You cannot convince me of that any other way. Men started this first. You have a woman who is now being taught by society as a whole, by every cue that's being given to her from her environment. She's looking around and seeing the only thing that these people want from me is whatever they can take from me. These people want me to work. These people want me to take care of children. These people want me to have sex. These people want me to do all kinds of, I need to be the teacher. I need to be the emotional stability for a person. I need to be everything. But what am I getting back in return? Because even though I have the expectation to be everything, to do everything, to know everything, what is being returned back to me? Except for lust and this degrading idea that I have nothing other to give. Even though I'm giving all these things, actively giving all these things, I have nothing left to give other than my vagina. And it just doesn't work. We get into a place where the woman is literally overworked and underpaid. And so you get to the point where you have women that are like the ones in those videos that I posted. You get women who have no idea. I'm also going to include myself in this equation because I've gone through this and I'm on the tail end of conceptualizing it in a healthy way. That I actually have value. That is not sexual. I'm just now learning at 31 years old that someone should care about me, that someone should love me for who I am, that someone should not look at me like I'm obligated to have sex or I'm obligated to be a certain fantasy for a person. You understand? This is the expectation that women have coming into relationships. I've been told before that there is no way that I should expect, in reason, in good logic and reason, to have any male friends. This is what I've been told by males. Men have come to me and said this. You should not expect to have a male friend. Why? I'm trying to figure out why. What do you mean? I'm a very friendly person. And I don't see myself to be all that masculine either. I mean, all that feminine either. I consider myself to be a more masculine woman. Social conditioning. Um, and so I'm like, why? Why can't I have a male friend? And every dude I come in contact with, they always say, because they want to fuck. Plain and simple as that. You're not going to be able to be friends with no man. And I'm like, well, why is that the advice? Why are you saying that? And every time and time again, every single man I ever speak to, and one of y'all can let me know if I'm telling any lies, that if you're a woman, there's no such thing as you having a male friend, because they only want to have sex with you. And that's the only thing they're going to do is pursue sex with, whether it be now or later. That's not your friend. That's somebody that wants to have sex with you. And so it's indicative, it gives you the idea of where mentality and where consciousness lies when it comes to sisters, when it comes to women, that you cannot encounter me on any other level. You cannot look at me and say, I know what you're worth, even though you might not know what you're worth. And I'm not saying that it's a man's fault that a woman doesn't know what she's worth. And I'm going to get into this because social conditioning is a bitch. Some social conditioning is a bitch. When you don't know what you're worth, okay, as a woman, and I'm telling you that this is the reason why women act the way they act. The reason why you see all these women with their asses shaking. The reason why you see them with their titties out and their tongues hanging out of their mouths like little puppies. The reason why every time you see them, they got to be put together. They got to be makeup. They got to have the earrings and the long weaves. And they got to do all of this extra stuff because they're appealing to something. They're trying to find the value. Because you keep telling them their value is in how they look. And so that's what they invest in. They invest in how they look. I used to be that chick that would, go and get a sew in, and I would have fake, these are my real nails for the most part. A couple of them broke, so I had to get tips on them. But, my hair, I used to go and get all kinds of stuff all done up, always wearing the tightest clothes, always wanting to be seen, always in the spot, getting drunk, dancing, shaking it up. Yeah, because that's all I thought I had. That's all I thought anybody was interested in. And so there was never a point ever when a man came to me and said, sister, you're doing too much. You're worth more than that. I don't want to see you shaking like this in front of my face. I don't want to see you belittling yourself. Maybe it's just a crowd I was hanging in, but again, this is indicative of where society is. If I maybe had been inside of a museum shaking my ass, then maybe somebody would have stopped me. But the point that I'm making is that this is the culture that we have largely designed for ourselves. And so when I say that men started it, I'm not trying to blame anybody. If there's anybody to blame, I'm going to blame our oppressor. And I'm going to say the oppressor planted these seeds in our community. But what I want you to understand when I say that men started this, I'm telling you again, men started the acceptance of these conditions. Men started the evolution of it, where they were like, oh, these women are loose. These women are nasty. Great. They're getting nastier and nastier by the minute, And our socially conditioned men ate it up like catnip. And then we follow closely behind. You see what I mean? It's not that you are to blame about it, but there is a responsibility on the man that is greater than the responsibility on the woman. Yes, we need to value ourselves more, but let me ask this question very realistically, and I really objectively want you to answer this the best way you can. If all women, okay, because this is the general argument that men will say, oh, well, why don't you women demand better? And why don't you value yourselves more? Why don't you close your legs? Why don't you have more self-respect and more self-love? And to that I say, if every woman right now was to get knocked upside the head and just automatically knew what she was worth and knew your black ass didn't have nothing for her, what would y'all do? What would you do? if every woman you approached, you couldn't talk to because she knew her worth and she knew that you were not able to exchange with her. Because what I notice is that we have a plethora of very valuable women out here. Plethora of very valuable women out here. You have your groups of them who love to twerk and all this other stuff. But what would you do with a woman who was valuable and told you that she had standards? And I recognize that there is a league of gentlemen out there who would know exactly what to do with that woman. They would communicate with her. They would learn her, get to know her, and appreciate her beauty, appreciate her essence. They would, dig into her. I've had men like that in my particular life where I didn't know what to do with them. I was too young and didn't know. But again, I'm talking about dynamics here. If all women were to just get to the point where they were no longer accepting less than what they were worth, would you, as a man, would you know how to value her? Would you know how to court her? Would you know how to date her? Would you know how to learn her? Would you know how to engage with her on a level where you're growing, where you're evolving, where you're listening and learning from what she's saying, where you're watching her moves and observing her? Would you know how to do that? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, you would not. Because over the years, over this course of evolution, y'all have not been paying attention to us. We know exactly how y'all move because we're not stupid. Whether you a good man or a trash, whether you good or you some trash in a relationship, women generally tend to know how to engage on that level. It's kind of embedded in us. But the second you say a woman should demand more, you have to know that she's not demanding more of herself only. She's demanding, as soon as she starts to demand more of herself, she automatically starts to demand more of your black ass. Do you hear me? She don't want to hear you giving her excuses any longer because she now knows her worth. She doesn't want to hear that you're trying or that there's all this story, all these explanations that go around how you're treating her. That's not the case. You want to understand. You must understand. I'm going to put it that way. You must understand that when you meet a woman of higher value and she's aware of it up here, that you have to know how to engage with that power. You cannot engage with a woman who has this heightened level of purpose and identity and worth and value. And you think you're going to come up to her and still be talking that old riff-raff. No. So I want y'all to get the reasons why I'm having these discussions with you, because it's not hard for a woman to look inside herself and find out where she is in her value. It may take some time, but when women start to really look around and see something is wrong inside of here, it don't take much. Not for my sisters. Every sister I've ever come in contact with, they have been very readily able and willing to introspect, to go inside of themselves and dig deeply for the value that they're looking for the dreams and the visions and the emotional intelligence that they're looking for. This may be a little harder in others than it is in most, but I'm going to say, generally speaking, we have that part on lock. But you have to understand that when this woman gets to that point and she starts to realize who she is, you cannot expect to just continue pointing the finger of blame at her by saying, you shouldn't be allowing me to do this to you. You know that, right? Come on, you guys. That's just not a valid argument. It's not a real good, it's not even a moral argument. Can you imagine, if you go in with guns ablazing, robbing a bank, and then the bank robbers looking at the bank tellers and saying, y'all really shouldn't be letting me rob you like this. Y'all really should know better how to do your security. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I feel like this is what's going on in our communities with the men the dynamic between men and women. Somebody is the perpetrator here. And yes, maybe the bank could have had tighter security. But at the same time, why the hell are you robbing the bank? You have to take the responsibility for being the aggressor. And this is what I'm saying about men and the over-sexualization of women. You are the aggressor, sir. You're the one that's chasing after the sex. You're the one that's embedding into her brain that she's worth nothing more than a good ride on your dick. That's you doing that, not her. She may be accepting it. She may be saying, okay, yeah, that penis look all right. I might take a ride on it. But if you're not presenting anything else other than that to her as your offering to her, what are you telling her that she's worth? You understand what I'm saying? If you're not giving her anything of value of yourself, if you're not telling her, hey, look, I see this in you, and I think this is valuable in this way, that way, and this is how I want to honor your value. This is how I want to honor your essence and your humanity. Oh, excuse me. This is how I want to appreciate you in our interaction. Except for, or in addition to having sex with you, I also want to take you out to a nice dinner, buy you flowers, and not have the expectation that you're going to have sex with me immediately. Yes, I want to have sex with you at some point, but I'm going to allow you to have the chance to even want to have sex with me. Do you know how many women don't even get the chance to learn a little bit about a man before he's automatically like, yeah, oh, do you know if a man touches me at this point in my life, if a man were to touch me, my skin will crawl. My skin will crawl. Because, and it's to the point where it's disgusting, especially now that I know my worth and I know what my value is. It becomes repulsive for a man to look at me with such desire, in his eyes. It gets to the point where I'm disgusted. I look at a man like, what the hell do you want? What do you want? Because the only thing you're going to present to me is a phone call and your penis. A good morning text and your penis. A 2 for $20 at Applebee's and your penis. Where's the value in that? You understand what I mean? Even if you want to get a little bit creative and you take me to a paint and sip and your penis. You see what I'm saying? There is a trend here that perpetuates the idea that the woman has no value. And so when you look at these visions of these women out here, because the other video I posted, the man was talking about, ladies, y'all out here watching Cardi B, you thinking that she winning because, she over here bent over, she's stripping, she doing what, she was stripping, she rapping, doing all this other stuff. You can't act like that and think that you're going to get to the same place as Cardi B. And again, to that I say, if that's the message that you're promoting, why are you supporting girls who do what Cardi B does? Cardi B wouldn't be as big as she is if it wasn't for the culture supporting that, if it wasn't for the men talking her up, if it wasn't for the women emulating her. This is what I mean. This started somewhere. And you cannot convince me that a woman had anything to do with the over-sexualization of herself. It just does not go like that. When you first meet a woman and you get her phone number, now, I know that there are some exceptions to this rule, but I'm going to speak very specifically about the trend, the general statement that I want to make. When you go and you approach a woman to give her or to get her information, to learn about her, to ask her if she might want to talk to you or become friends with you. This is generally the way you guys approach women. I just want to be your friend. I just want to talk to you. I just want to know you. That's how y'all normally do it. You come up very unassuming, acting like ain't nothing wrong, like you ain't got nothing but, some candy in your pocket. And I just want to get to know you. How many times has that woman turned around and just offered you sex. I mean, I'm pretty sure it does happen from time to time where a woman might be completely fed up and she'd be like, look, I just want to have sex with you. I don't want nothing else from you but some penis. That's definitely an exception to the rule, an anomaly in the data, in the statistics. But what you will find on a way more frequent basis, or as more of a majority, is you'll find that men will approach women, and before any real engagement has begun to happen, the conversation begins to get sexual. The conversation begins to make requests that are based on expectations. If a man is sexually attracted to a woman, he'll say, let me get a pic. You send him a picture of your face. Oh, you ain't got no full body. Oh, you ain't got no, what that body looking like. Very sexual. When you barely know who I am. You barely know anything about me. But yet you want me to take my clothes off for you. If you were in my house, I've had this happen several times before. Having sex with a complete stranger because they have nothing else to offer me. They come into my home. I've had strangers in my bed. And they sit there just as comfortable as they want to. Them niggas will put their goddamn hands up, put their feet up on your damn shit. They be in your house like this. Like, what's up? Where you at? Where are my eggs and my grits? And you like, what the hell? I just met you on the street. So again, yes, there is responsibility on behalf of the woman. Yes, there is. The woman should say in all situations, sir, I don't know you like that. I don't know who you are, what you're capable of. I don't even know if I want to be involved with you like that. But when a woman is not capable of that for her own reasons of, rooted from conditioning, you have no man not very many men who will come into that situation with nobility in his heart, with humility in his soul, and say, you know what, sister, I ain't really trying to go there with you. I don't barely even know you like that. Let's go out to eat something. Let's go to a movie or something. Let's go where your mama stay. Let's go visit your mom. Anything like that. It just doesn't happen. And whose responsibility is that? Again, y'all men want to be leaders so bad. But what are you leading? Who are you leading? Where are you leading us to? If you can't even look at me and have a regular goddamn conversation with me without wanting to bury your penis in every hole of my body, how do you expect to be my leader? How do you expect to lead me anywhere when you don't even know who I am? How can you be a leader of a woman when you have no idea what material is inside of her? You have no idea what power is inside of her. You have no idea what beauty, what dreams, what visions, what talents, what skills. Who are you leading? What ability do you even have to lead when you have no control of your own loins? You can't rationally say in your mind, this is a sexy ass woman, but I am not trying to have sex with her. Whose responsibility is that? I had a man say, who creates the sexual, Lord have mercy, who creates sexual desire for men? And I asked him, who the hell do you think? Y'all create your own sexual desires. Y'all just dragging us into them with y'all. And because we don't have the fortitude, the strength, like I said, we've been sucked dry. Every ounce of our dignity. Y'all about to make me cry. Every ounce of our dignity, every ounce of our value, every ounce of our dreams and our aspirations, every ounce of our sense of identity has been stripped from us. We have no history. There's no love for the Black woman. We don't have no strength to resist a man. This is another point that I want to make about this. A man approaches a woman and, okay, we get another form of conditioning in our minds where society tells us there's a fairy tale that we should be reaching towards. There is this, and this is a perfect formula for dysfunction. The woman is being groomed in her mind constantly over time that marriage is what she should aspire to. Marriage is what her goal is overall, that she should be a family woman. She should have a husband. She should have children. She should have a white picket fence and a house in the suburbs. We get that in our minds. And when a man comes to us, he's very aware of that we want to be married, that we want to have a fairy tale type of lifestyle. And what do you guys do? You come to us with stories and dreams and hopes and all kinds of pipe dreams that y'all sell to us just to get us to let our guards down. And as soon as I start believing what you're saying, because I'm hurt. I got my guards all the way up here. I'm like, what's that dude, Mr. What's his name on that damn show? Well, you can't see nothing but his eyes. He's still looking at you like this. Because he's like, who are you? I don't trust none of y'all. Y'all got us out here like this. As soon as you got us lower that guard down a little bit, let you see a little bit of who I am, then y'all take full advantage. That's when you start playing your games. That's when you start letting your real true self come out. That's when we find out that you really have no substance. That's when we find out that you have no idea what my value is. You don't know yourself. You don't know where you're going in your life. You don't know what you want from me besides my vagina. And then all of a sudden it's my fault for making the bad decision to trust you. It's my fault for not recognizing that all you wanted from me was sex. You got people out there selling dreams. I've had plenty of men say, why do you women like the bad boy type? Why do you like the bad boy type? And I'm going to say this to that. I have never liked a type. And my friends will tell you that. A lot of my girlfriends have types, but a lot of them are very lenient. I've seen my girlfriends date a variety of men as well. I've dated men from all walks. And guess what? I've still been overused, overworked, and underpaid, undervalued, underappreciated. I have not always been the best woman. I have not always had my mind strong and my soul, aligned. And I have not always been the most conscious sister that you've ever met. But I've always been a good person. I've always been intentional about when I let somebody into my life and me wanting to be benevolent and me wanting to pour into them, me wanting to grow them up, me wanting to, or I should say grow with them instead of grow them up. Because Lord knows I ain't got, definitely have not been trying to do that. But, there is a process that's been happening where it doesn't matter what kind of guy I meet. The process is the same. It goes down the same. We meet. We talk very briefly. The next thing you know, we're having sex. After the sex, there's no more value to be had. There's no more interaction to be had. There's no more exchange. There's no more intention. It's just bam, bam, bam. And then we out of there. You understand? So we got to start getting to a point where we recognize this is not just a blame game that I'm putting out there. What I'm saying more so than anything is that as a leader of our communities, our men should be leading this charge. Why? Because it's largely your problem. It's not largely our issue. Like I said before, we do not over-sexualize ourselves. Yes, we do participate in it. I will give you a resounding yes, 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 yes. We are participating in the process of being over-sexualized. But what I am telling you is that us participating in it would not be happening if there was no one sustaining it. In order for this system of over-sexualization to stop, it must be on the responsibility of those who are perpetuating and maintaining the system of it. If brothers all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, started to treat women as if their bodies were just a shell, a casing, let's just say if you meet a woman, okay, even if she looked like she ready to bust out with a good old Cardi B twerk. Listen to what I'm trying to tell you, please. because this is extremely important. Even if it looks like this woman has the capacity to be your best Cardi B impersonator, whatever. If you were to approach her and say, sis, I'm not really interested in that. You know, I see twerking all the time everywhere. I'm interested to see what kind of conversations we can have. I'm interested to know what kind of interests you have. I want to know, where do you see yourself being in the next few years? I want to know, have you done a vision board? Can I see it? Where's your vision board? Where's the value in you? Who are you as a person? Can I see that? Yeah, I might like the fact that you're a rapper, but what is the purpose for your rapping? What is your audience? What is your message? What are you trying to say to these people? I want to know about you. I want to know who you are. I want to know what's inside of you. You know, if you got past trauma and issues and things you're trying to deal with in your life, we're all shedding off our social conditioning here. We have so many things we could be talking about and engaging with each other on certain very valuable and substantial levels, things that have substance in them. But are we doing that? Are men leading the way in that? Or how many of you are still, when you meet a woman, still, and I know y'all are out there because you still be on me. You still be on me. How many of y'all are out there saying, you know, sis, God, I haven't had a great conversation like this in so long. I just want to sit and talk to you. Can we go get some coffee and let's just talk? There is a responsibility here. And our leaders, our men are responsible for cleaning this mess up. I did not ever intend to make the assertion or to even insinuate that our men were to blame. But, excuse me, like I said before, the blame rests on the oppressor. But still, you have to recognize that even though there is this issue, and you may not be the blame for the beginning or the initiation or the origin of this story of evolution in this community, if you have the power, first of all, we are not waiting on our oppressors or anyone else to come and deal with our problems. This is how we have to start elevating ourselves. This is how we have to start seeing ourselves. This is how we have to start healing ourselves. We have to look around and say, what part of this mess am I participating in? And what part of this mess can I be personally responsible for cleaning up? No, I am not going to blame anyone and say, I did not do that. It was you who did it like this first, and that's what made me. No, I can't stand it when a man makes the argument that a woman might post thirst traps. And so what does she think she's about to get? How about you just be more mature? How about you just be a grown man, be an adult? The internet is inundated. Come on now. The internet is saturated with big old asses and big old titties. When do you ever stop getting excited by that? When does that stop being the thing that makes you wake up and go to sleep wake up in the morning and go to sleep at night? When does that ever stop being the only thing that you look for on your phone, all on Pornhub? Killer Mike said that porn is $1 billion industry. Why? Y'all motherfuckers ain't never getting tired of fucking. You not tired? It's not getting boring to you. I don't get this all the way. And then to say that the woman needs to be responsible because she's posting naked stuff. But then, you know, like I said, y'all got to recognize how to put these dots together. Men, on one hand, will claim social conditioning for his dysfunctional views of sexuality and his dysfunctional projections of it onto the woman. But then he'll say that the woman is not entitled to her own levels of social conditioning when he says and makes the assertion that she needs to act better. She needs to stop posting things. She needs to value herself more. She needs to know her self-worth. She needs to close her legs. So she can't have social conditioning like you can. She's definitely responsible for doing all those things you just said. But when are you going to be responsible for the for your part in the over sexualization or in the acceptance of? Because the way things stand right now, if a woman was to stop overly sexualizing herself, putting those pictures up and doing things, you know, at this point, I have to make this distinction. Because I said before that women do not overly sexualize themselves. And I want to make the distinction and say that that does not happen, that did not happen initially to originate this problem. I believe and fully understand that women currently participate in their own over sexualization, because we're further into the evolution of it now. And so once you have introduced it to the society and to the culture, then it's free for everybody to participate in. But again, the origin of it, I believe it started on one side of the coin, which was on the male side. And then once the men got into it, wanting to overly sexualize the woman for his own reasons, then for her reasons, based on conditioning, she allowed that to happen. And this is the key of what I'm trying to explain. Because of that dynamic, we have to be responsible for our part in this whole tragedy. Because what is suffering and what we're losing is too great of a loss for it to be lost to something that is so trivial, something as trivial as sex. We have to get a handle on this, and we have to get a proper handle on it if we're going to get into a state of health and healing. Because if our men are steadily deflecting this responsibility, if our men are steadily saying, I didn't have nothing to do with that, how are we going to heal? It's not going to happen. If a man can never say, you know, I really believe I could be overly sexualizing this woman. I see her and all I see is ass and titties. And when I see those ass and titties, all I want is the ass and titties. I don't necessarily care about any of the attachments that go along with that ass and those titties. And so this is where I want to make the point. We have work to do as women. Yes, we do. I do not deny that. Ladies, we have to start understanding these men can only do to us what we allow them to do. You have all the power. You are the prize. And if I had it my way, you would not be chasing after no man. You would not be answering your phone on every ring when he calls your phone. You would not be acting like a wife when you are not such. You would not be overly giving, overly serving to a man. If I had it my way. Why? Because I've been there. I've done that. I've had the idea that if I could just show this man that I'm worth more than just this vagina, that he might be able to see me. I've had that in my head before. And the whole time I was doing that, I was devaluing myself so that I could lift him up. I want to serve him. I want to see him grow. I want to see him fall in love. I want to see him have happiness and joy. I want to see this man fulfilled. Whole time, entire time, I was tearing myself down. I was giving too much of myself and not being relinquished. The men didn't give a damn about what I had. They didn't give a damn about who I was. They didn't give a damn. I'm going to say this distinction now because this thing is layered. There have been situations where I may have been appreciated more than I could see, more than I could recognize. I want to say this to my sisters. Have you ever been in a place where you might be walking through a door, or you might be on a date? Let me put it this way. You might be on a date and you actually got a gentleman with you, and you I've had this happen to me before, y'all. The man reprimanded me because I was walking too fast ahead of him. And he was very upset because he couldn't open the door for me because I was walking so fast. Something as simple as that. And this is something that I had to get in my mind. I didn't even think I was worth that. When I went on a date, I'm automatically reaching for my wallet so that I pay. All of these things in an effort for me to avoid being used for sex. I would do these things paying for my own food, opening my own doors, not badgering a man for, attention or wanting to be too clingy. I would do all of that, trying to avoid this idea that I wanted to appeal to the man. I wanted him to see my value. I wanted him to see that I wasn't just a vagina. And so, like I said, I did all these things trying to show my value, trying to show that I could be more and I could offer more. And many times that was met with a lack of humility. And it was also met with, I also want to say that kind of got disrupted partially because of things that I was doing. If I had a person that was there to appreciate me, I was at a place in my life where I could not see that appreciation. I couldn't see that this man actually meant well by me. And I also want to say that I'm about to get into something. Sisters, I got about 10 minutes left. I'm about to get into something for y'all right now. Sisters, if you are religious, if you subscribe to a religion and you are single, please do not do what I did. Please do not do what I did. And this is when I was in a point in my life where I had good brothers around me. There were good brothers, okay? There were good brothers around me. Please, ladies, I'm talking to you specifically. Do not do what I did. Religion caused me to have expectations of a man that were like way up here. They were like way, way up here. I'm talking about you basically need to be Jesus. You basically had to be Jesus if you wanted to please me in any way. I'm like, are you praying? How many Bible scriptures are you quoting? Like, are you going to church every Sunday? Can we sit and talk about the Bible? Can we go to like these Christian events? I'm talking about real over the head with it. Ladies, that is not the move. Okay? That is not the move. You must be in a place where you understand that your life and your beliefs, your expectations are yours and yours only. You should never have the expectation of a man to be something or to do something that you are not yourself or that you are not willing to do yourself. These should be very, very clear understandings in your mind and in your heart. If you know that you're not the woman that can take care of yourself and provide yourself this big old house, luxury cars, trips, shoes, and all this other stuff, girl, get off of that man. Leave him the hell alone. Because to have those kind of expectations, and you're not on that level. First of all, the man who is on that level is not checking for you. He's not looking at you. I'm serious. If you the type of girl that you on Instagram and you got titties and ass all over everywhere, you might be able to catch one of those men on a humbug and get a couple of dates, get a trip, or get flued out. You might have somebody to fly you on out there, girl. But what I'm telling you is that you will never get your happily ever after like that. That man is not going to value you or treasure you or do none of that. Because when have you done it for yourself? When have you given yourself that? You understand? This becomes a personal journey where we are reversing the effects of our conditioning. And again, this comes from a woman not knowing her value. If you want a man to be all those things, and you don't know your value enough to even elevate yourself to a place where you can match him, again, you'll never have it. Especially if you're looking for those things to come to you from a man. It's not the same way we always sit up here and say, oh, it's not my responsibility to be a rehabilitation center for a man. It's not my responsibility to grow him up and to be his mama. Well, guess what? It's not his responsibility to be your personal bank. It's not his responsibility to give you a luxury life. It's not his responsibility to make sure that even though you have zero financial acumen, You have zero business sense. You have zero care in the world for how much work he has to do to get all that money to send your ass here and there. You have zero care for that. What you expect from him? Love? Is that what you giving him? I don't think so. No. You could sex him up all day long. Are you loving him? When the fruit of his labor means nothing to you? Is that love? I would never look at a man and expect for him to pay my rent or to, go through all this stuff. And no, I'm not going to use sex as a leverage for that. I'm not going to use sex as a carrot to dangle in somebody's face because it's worthless. Sex is worthless. It's worthless, especially in this society. I'm going to keep saying that to drive it home. It's worthless. It's especially not worth money. Okay? It's definitely not worth time, which really is what money is. Money is not a currency. Time is a currency. We exchange time for things. And if a man is out there giving up all his hard-earned money that he spent his time to amass this fortune, do you think that he wants you around? Well, every time he gains some of it, you drain it. He gaining and you draining. He gaining and you draining. That's not the move. That's not the move. Because there's no value there. There's no, there is no meeting of the minds where the goals match. Clearly, you're moving in two different directions. But sisters, again, this comes down to your personal value. Your personal value. If you don't think that you have anything to offer, some women think it's cute. Oh yeah, daddy going to go get the bag. He about to send me to the mall. Won't. No, man. No. I mean, I want to say whatever floats your boat, but really, that's not how we're going to get ahead. That's not how we're going to get ahead. We're not going to find our happiness that way. You don't find happiness in a wallet, and you don't find happiness in your pants. Okay. The cat is free. It really is. The penis is free too. Women out here getting penis from anywhere, and dudes out here getting vagina from anywhere. And that's what I mean. It's meaningless. It's pointless. Everybody out here giving up. When I look at these relationships and I'm looking around to see what's actually happening, what I'm seeing is that we're giving up the very essence of our lives, you guys. We're giving up the fun of life. We're giving up the pleasures of life. We're giving up so much value of life in the pursuit of something that is so empty, which is meaningless sex. It's so empty and valueless. We give up a lot of times when let's just say you're single and you're dating. You're spending the most of your time mentally involved in some kind of dating relationship. Mentally. Now, feel me when I tell you this, because y'all, life is so full. I say this. Did I have this written down? Life is so full of stuff that we could be using our mental space for. It's so full of things that we could be doing to further ourselves, to develop ourselves, evolve ourselves, heal ourselves, build and organize ourselves. So many things we could be doing out here in our society. But when we keep our mental space occupied with the drama of meaningless sexual relationships. Did you hear what I said? Meaningless sexual relationships. When you have occupied your mind with nothing but the meaningless sexual relationships in your life, what are you doing? What are you doing? You have a life that includes your health. It includes your finances. It includes your parenting. It includes your education. It includes your career. So many things that you could be thinking about, your self-development. But what do we do when, it's sex? How long have I been sex free? I'm not sex free. I'm married. I'm I'm married. So, again, these are the things that we need to be thinking about. I'm gonna have to drop off of here and come back because my time is coming out. But y'all just click back on it when it times out. But there's a lot that we're